What's going on? I'm gonna be starting shortly. This is gonna be the topic is 3 reasons rent to owns are basically a scam, just basically for suckers, pretty much. I won't say scam, but I'll say for suckers. Okay, I'm gonna go in on rent to own properties. This is rent to own properties, or what is called in investment terminology, or real estate investment community. It's called lease options. Okay, lease options. Okay, so it's basically leasing with the option to buy. Okay, let me do some housekeeping here. Let's get some things off. Give you some visual graphics. You're gonna definitely learn something that you probably didn't know. Okay, so why is uh rent to own properties for suckers? I mean, why do people, that have properties, or a real estate portfolio of properties, why do they like lease options? Why? And why is real estate investors that actually give out lease options, why are they the big man in the suit and the yellow man in the suit, rubbing their hands together? Okay, I'm gonna go over why uh they love lease options, and why you should not, basically. Why you should run away from lease options unless you absolutely know you're gonna buy the property. Okay, so basically, a lease option is basically a glorified rental agreement. Let me hold on 1 second. Do some housekeeping here. Do some housekeeping. Okay. Yes, it is a glorified rental agreement. That is what a lease option is, ladies and gentlemen. Don't be fooled. It's pretty much you're renting a property. Okay. I'm gonna go over some numbers. Let me close this out, and I'm gonna go over some numbers with you on pretty much how does a lease option work. Okay, we're gonna go and basically I'm gonna go over some numbers here. So open up a notepad. We're gonna go over some numbers. Okay, so now that you know that a rent to own is a glorified rental agreement, why do people choose this option? Okay, a lot of times, this is old. This is older than um, I am. It's been going on for a long time. I'll give you the history on lease options. Okay, so if you go ask your great grandmother, depending on how old you are, in my case, it would be my grandmother, but if you're like 20 years old, 25, you're going to ask your grandmother or grandfather about this. Okay, especially if you're from Chicago, okay, where there's real estate segregation, is part of the history, right? So these lease options were used, actually, the only way that a lot of black people back in the 40s, 50s, 60s, even 70s were able to buy property. Even it's still kind of it's around, and it's definitely legal. But this was a way for them to buy property because they couldn't buy property. Like I say, if you really go hard in the paint and you follow, my videos, I've talked about, basically, why they actually had to pass a federal act because basically housing discrimination was just pretty much part of life. So before all of that, in order to buy a property in a neighborhood that you wanted to live in and buy a house that you wanted to live, if you were African American, Negro, or colored or whatever, you had to get a lease option. You basically had to get these types of deals because that was what was available. Okay. That's the historical aspect of these types of real estate transactions, which is lease options. So now that you kind of understand, we're gonna go over some figures of basically how these things work. Okay, so a lot of times, like I say, to even to in today's time, even I've made the mistake of, and I'm gonna talk about it. I'm definitely gonna talk. It'll be in my broke stories video. My second real estate transaction was a lease option. Okay, my second property, actually even my first property that I ever fixed up was a lease option. Actual house that I actually fixed up, got up to code, it was a lease option. Okay. So I'm definitely gonna be talking about that. Okay. I haven't even did the video of my first real estate transaction. But I'll definitely get into my second, which would be the lease option. And the reason why, like I say again, the reason why they're attractive is because the price of real estate is just so expensive. Okay, a lot of times. I mean, typically a real estate transaction, a property, is one of the most expensive purchases that most people will make. That's why most people get mortgages for property. Okay, because you know they might have to fix it up. In my case, I'm having to fix up a property, or they just want to get a property that's move-in ready. Housing costs is through the roof. Another video that I'm going to be doing is basically I'm going to be looking back at my projections. Pretty much I called it. If you've been rocking with me and you got a little bread, you done already, man, got the whiff of what was going to happen. I already predicted this last year. Okay, I already predicted that housing property will be basically housing costs are going to go up. Okay, I already predicted this, but with property values going up, lease options are very much attractive. Okay, because property owner, basically has a property. He wants to, he's having problems either selling it, and he also even just wants to lease it. But basically, I'm gonna go into it. I'm gonna go definitely into it. But basically, we're gonna run the numbers. Okay, so typically, how a lease option works, or this glorified rental agreement, basically you have a house. Okay, the house is, let's just say for example, the house is let's say let's just say $9,000 cash. Okay, $9,000 cash, but you don't have $9,000. But you can lease option, or you can, basically you can rent to own. RTOs is what they call it, for So basically $35,000. Okay, so we're gonna add this up. So basically, you got a house, it's 9,000 cash, or you can rent to own for $35,000. And then with that $35,000, they want a down payment because you just don't have 9,000. They can help you out with that. For basically you just put down $1,500. $1,500 down payment and $450 a month for rent. So $1,500 down payment, okay, and it goes toward, and I'll have to, and I'll go, and I'm going further down. I'm going to explain this. $1,500 down payment. It goes towards that cost. It doesn't go towards $9,000 cash, the cost of the house. It goes towards the purchase price. So instead of you, it's just all kind of verbiage at this point. Instead of you owing $35,000, you only owe at this point 33,500. Okay. So that being said, the $450, this is what they do. Okay. Typically how this lease option stuff goes. So it's not like you get all of the money towards the principal. That's why, I pretty much promote seller financing, because that's how seller financing work, where the $450 gets to apply towards the actual cost of the house. Of course, you have um interest involved in that, but that 400 out of that $450, basically you get a rental credit. They do like a rental credit of, let's just say, $125. So every time you pay your, rent, right, you get $125 credit. So you times that by 12, you got $1,500 a month towards the purchase price of the home that you get a credit. Okay, so after every 12 months, every year, you get a credit applied towards the cost. So this is how this works. All you young people that don't are clueless. Every year you get a $1,500 credit. Let me apply this uh towards 33 500. All right. All right. So all right. So every year, this $1,500 credit that you get for just paying your rent, okay, it goes towards this $33,500 balance. Okay, all you got to do is do the math, basically. You basically take 33,500 divided by $1,500, and basically you'll be paying this for 22 years, because that's pretty much what. And this is given the fact that you hoping that the landlord, because it's basically a landlord, you're hoping that the landlord still has the property, which is basically a major roll of the dice. You're hoping that the landlord pays his responsibilities, his mortgage, and you're paying part of that. Portion of that payment is going towards taxes. You're hoping that he's paying the taxes as well on the property, you know, and you're hoping that you can continue paying everything involved with the property. Okay, so now that you have that, okay, we're gonna go into the second reason why basically you know, rent to owns are basically for suckers. I mean, you pretty much, I mean, most people at this point already kind of figured it out why. So as you can see, most people rarely buy the house. Okay, most people rarely actually buy the house. Okay, um you know, you get the down payment, you actually get a house. A lot of times, I'm gonna give you some situations here. I'll give you a situation of typically what a rent to own house looks like as well. Like, we're not just gonna use words and actually sentences here. We're gonna go into a property, a typical rent to own property that will be in this type of value range. Okay, so we're gonna look into this because this property is not move-in ready. This is not a move-in ready property. With the property this price, you got to figure $9,000 property that's cash is pretty much a crack house. You know, you gotta understand, it's a crack house. It's a bando. Okay, so a typical house that, you know, would be under this would be a house that's pretty much a lot. It's a lot, meaning it's really just a house on a lot that is like F grade, you know, basically condition, and it's like, you know, the person that is trying to sell it, he's literally trying to get the cash, but he's willing to go the long haul with somebody that's a sucker enough to actually, you know, buy this property. He's willing he's willing to take on that risk, you know. He's willing to do it for the right, you know, sucker, you know, basically. So, let's see here. I'm going to show you what typically a house like this would look like. Okay. I mean, I'm not saying that something like this would not be worth it, but what I'm saying is that the way you have the deal, it is not worth it. Okay, the deal makes it you know, basically where it doesn't make any sense. Okay, so this is typically what you'll get. This is something obviously in the Chicagoland area. This is something that you'll get for $9,000, $3,500. I mean $35,000. As far as a rent to own contract, which is like three times the value of the house. This is typically what you would have involved with, you know, houses in like F grade, D grade condition at best. And it's like we're gonna go into the rabbit hole of why. Most people barely buy the house. They actually just they're paying the rent, and they rarely buy the property. Okay. Now, if you have the understanding of a 13-year-old, you've probably already figured out why most people barely rarely buy the actual house. Okay. You know, you're paying, pretty much a down payment of $1,500, $450 a month for rent. So as soon as you pay, so July, August, okay, July you put down $1,500. In August they're looking for that 450. As soon, it's just like rent, just like if you moved in to an apartment. Okay, you putting down that $1,500 down payment, and then they're wanting, you put it down in July. In August they want that 450. Okay, and yeah, you get $125, a whole $125 towards the purchase price of 30 33 33,500 every month. Okay, but the problem is, and we going back to why most people rarely buy the house, is because basically, look at it. This is what you're involved in. I mean, can you, first of all, can you, move in a property like this? And this goes into the last point. You're risking a lot with any investment that you put in the property. Okay, because basically you got a D grade, F grade property, and this is also, um, well, yeah, this this is in the F grade, definitely an F grade neighborhood. This is a Inglewood property. This is Inglewood. Just look up Inglewood in Chicago. It's only one of the most violent parts of Chicago, in the entire Chicago. Okay, it's pretty much where the South Side meets the West Side, Southwest Side. Actually, the Southwest side of Chicago is between the East and the Southwest side of Chicago. Very, very violent. Okay. Um. Yeah. When you get most of the news stories and everything like that, it's pretty much, I'll say 5 times out of 10, it's somewhere around here. Okay, these people that have property in Inglewood, they have the hardest time trying to sell the property. Okay, pretty much, this property, in case you want to buy it's they're trying to sell the lot. They're not even trying to sell the house. The lot is 5 grand. Okay, and I'm gonna tell you, um, unless you want to grow a garden, it ain't worth it, because just like I said when I talked about, Chicago is basically controlled chaos. So a lot of that is like, just, it's like Tupac's song, "Stand Back and Watch them kill each other." Like, they just, literally, that's part of the system. Just let them stand back and kill each other. Come up and pick the bodies up, just because we just can't let the bodies, just sit on the floor. So we just come pick the bodies up, and then we go back, and then just, let them shoot themselves again. As long as they don't come outside of that area, they don't. It's no big deal. I mean, I know I went a little dark on you, but that's just how it is. That's, pretty much what I see. You can argue with me in the comment section, but I know you won't do it, because basically you respect my gangster. You do not, that your weak points and arguments get snuffed out on this in this channel here. But anyway, you're dealing with, in a lot of cases, a very, very bad neighborhood. Where you'd have to move a certain way, and you also dealing with a property that you'll have to fix up. I mean, basically F grade properties, okay, D and F grade properties are definitely 50 grand. You're looking at $50,000. Yes. I mean, it doesn't matter if you do it, on a step by step basis or whatever. It's you're still looking at $50,000. So let's just do some math here, and this goes into my point before, which is most people rarely buy the house. This is why most people rarely buy the house. So if you bought this, you're trying to move in as soon as possible. So typically, you're trying to just get the house habitable. Okay, so with an F grade house, this is what I'm dealing with, by the way. With the F grade house, D grade house, I mean, you're to make a house habitable, it depends. It's a lot of variables. Okay, but you gotta assume that the wires and it's no electricity. I mean, they're just selling this property as a lot, so it's like my mom used to call it. It's a shell of a house. Okay, so you to make repairs, or just to rehab to make habitable. I mean, basically, you're looking at the very least, you just want to say at the very least $15,000 to just make it habitable. So just imagine you don't have the $9,000 cash to just buy the property, because this property, just to say, it's not $9,000 to buy this property. Okay, they got you in a rent to own contract for 35,000. Put down $1,500 a month. The rental credit is $125, and that's pretty much $1,500 a year towards $33,000 and 500. $33,500. Okay, so I'm like, basically, I'm just, my head is down, like, because this is like, man, it's people do this. It's people do this. It's people that they actually, there's some people that have done this and they got out. They've done well for themselves. Um, you know, but I'm gonna tell you, you in for a fight. You're in for definitely a fight, okay? Because like I say, you have to somehow figure out a way you could pay. This is why I mean, I'm gonna go back to this point here. This is why this is very difficult. You have to pay. They don't care. They're reasonable. Most of these people that these big investment companies and groups, you have to pay. You have to pay that 450 every month. Pay 450 a month. And like I say, I mean, just roughly, just looking at, I'm talking about just to make a house habitable. Windows, doors, floors, walls, electrical, plumbing, the HVAC system. I'm not talking about you redo the bathroom and I mean, you definitely need to have at least something, at least a toilet. I'm not saying even the bathroom is complete. I'm not saying the kitchen is even in it's no kitchen, okay? Or you got the same kitchen that it was in, okay? You haven't really done much to the basement, okay? You just bare minimum. You talking about $15,000, unless you actually know how to do it. If you know how to do the work, it's a lot less. But if you're hiring, contractors, tradesmen to actually do the work, you're talking about at least $15,000, and then you're talking about maybe they might have to get on the roof. You know, um, this is what you're looking for. So you're paying $450 a month plus just to get some. anything out of this situation, where it be you living there or you find some broke ass person, but not even broke, but well, yeah, maybe even broke. Let's just say broke, yeah. Or somebody down on their luck, financially inadequate but willing to take a risk. You have to pay $1,400. I mean, no, $15,000 plus that $450 every single month. Okay, you gotta put in $450 a month. That's just literally going to the actual property owners. It's not going towards fixing the house up. The lease to own. Let me get, basically, lease to own lease options. Buyer or tenant. It's a tenant. You're not a buyer. Okay. Pays all repairs. Just to make this clear, so you understand. Lease options, buyer tenant pays all repairs. So that $450 is not going towards anything but the taxes and the basically the owner's pocket every month. Now you have to figure out a way to do this, pay this, and this $15,000. Okay. And I mean, here's the thing. Let me go back to the start again. You ain't had $9,000 you didn't have $9,000 to even just buy the house outright and get out of having to pay, pay this here. Cause okay, if you just had to spend $15,000, I mean, basically, this is, take you maybe 3 years to make it habitable, just off of what you already have to pay. Okay, with the rental agreement that you got with this lease option. So now you have to figure out a way to whatever you've been doing, whether you be living with family, living with friends, or living in an apartment you really don't like. You don't have an out. You that $450, you have to figure out how to continuously struggle with what you're already doing, where you already are living. Plus, you have to muster some money to get some tradesmen to do some work. Okay, and you know try to get it to where you can make it at least habitable, so you can maybe kind of live in there. You got water, electrical, you got windows, doors. You got it where you got all of the trash out. You got to pay to get trash out and all of the debris out. I mean, this is just numbers, okay? Right? And it could even be more in certain situations, okay? So, and you're basically, whatever you do as well, it is going towards the investment of this property. You're not going to walk away from this part. Let's just say you were able to pay the $450. Then next month your back goes out. You rip you rip one of your vertebrae, bones or whatever in your back at work, because you're trying to work overtime to pay for the place you live now, and then also fixing up and paying for this place and all other responsibilities that you have. So then the next month, you gotta wait for your unemployment and then disability, and then it's not the same amount of money that you're normally able to pay. I mean, or able to get from your work, from your regular work. So you're short, like, you're only getting 60% of your regular pay. So in order to, basically pay for where you are now, you're paying for that and struggling. You don't even have the money to pay for this here. This here is gone because that was basically you're struggling to pay that as it is with just your regular work before you got injured. So when you get soon as you're not able to pay, let's just say you've already put about 7 grand into the 1,500. You've already got some toilets, got some sinks, you got some flooring done, you got you know starting working on the electrical, the plumbing. You almost ready to get some windows and doors, and then maybe get drywall, and then your back goes out. So you're sitting laying up with your back out, your lady, she's arguing with you about why did you, get into this situation, why you want to buy this property, and you're, arguing and fussing, fighting, laying in the bed, all while laying in the bed, with an ice pack on, taking Tylenols, and probably drinking some, some liquor because you got doggone into something that you can't get out of because you got in over your head because you got something happened, and basically you're at risk of losing everything. Now a lot of these companies, a lot of these people, they are reasonable in my experience, but after a while, if you don't, let's just say your back goes out, it could be a situation where you out 6 months. You are at risk of losing everything you done put into, and then your backlog. That $450 don't stop. It's just like as if you're paying rent at your place that you're paying rent now. It's just you got to pay rent and also fix up the property. So this is why this is very much, I'm not gonna say it's a scam. It's not a scam. But it's very much for suckers. Okay. Now I'm gonna give you a reason where it kind of makes sense to do this. And this is like basically where this makes sense. All right. Now, with the knowledge that you got from just my channel, just from what I know, being, real estate investor, few houses under my belt, you know, I'll show you an in between where it kind of makes sense. All right, and it goes to the housing grades. Okay, it basically goes to the housing grades. It's according to this here. This makes sense if it's in a good location. Let's just say a B, C neighborhood, and the property is in a better condition. I'll show you example. I'll show you example because definitely, I mean, pictures, tell the whole story. Okay. So I'm going to show you an example of what I'm talking about. I'll just put up a single family and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Something that it probably is living close to living ready. Okay. Where you just gotta maybe you might gotta put 5 grand, might 10 grand just to make it where, you know, let's just say 5 grand to just kind of make it where you can just move in. You just gotta paint, you gotta do some, probably just make some cosmetic work, stuff like that. And a house costs more, but you don't necessarily, you're gonna pay, it's gonna pay off. Okay. So we're gonna talk about it. We're gonna say, all right, well, it makes sense in a certain regard. All right, so we're gonna take this house out of the mix. This is an F grade property in an F grade neighborhood. This is just not worth it because basically it just on paper it just doesn't make sense. Okay. For a long-term investment, yeah, it does make sense. Very much makes sense. Okay. But um let's just say this property here. Okay, this property here, this is like a C grade property. Let's just say the neighborhood is also a C grade or B grade property. I mean B grade neighborhood. This makes better sense because all right, now let's just say let's go back to the parameters here. Okay. Let's say I could even make it where it's even, you can even I can even change this up because it makes more sense, right? Because this property is more, kind of prime. Okay. So instead of the $9,000 cash, I could even say, all right, this house is $39,000 cash, and then the rent to own cost is, let's just say $75,000. I mean, the property value, and then also like I say, it goes back to this here. This is where it makes sense. Location and property condition, because basically the location, BC grade locations, neighborhoods, property values are pretty much pretty good. Okay, if this property they want 39 cash and then rent to own 75, they're not dumb. They're going towards the property values. So they already know this property, it's going for about, 100,000, close to 100,000, if not 80. So they're giving you the same, rate as if you pretty much bought it, with a mortgage. But they know it need a little repairs or a lot of repairs, and they're saying, all right, well, we're willing to do the cash rate, but they'll lock you in for $75,000. Now, instead of putting down 1,500, you're gonna probably have to put down, let's just say 5,000. Still makes sense. Instead of paying 450, you gotta pay, let's just say $900 a month towards this rent, towards this lease option. Okay. Now, out of this lease option, instead of that $450, you're paying 900, and then you get a rent credit of about, let's just say, shoot, 175. Okay. It's a little bit more, but not much. And then but basically, that's pretty much, that's a little bit under, let's just say it's about $11,000. I mean, actually, no, because it's only 17.5, so it'd be like 175 times 12. You get $2,100 credit. $2,100 credit every year towards this property that is going towards that five out of that 5,000, out of that $70,000 that you owe. So basically, it still makes sense because instead of this here, you gotta pay $900 a month, and then instead of it costing $1,500, I mean $15,000 to fix it up, it's let's just say it's about Let's just say it's just $10,000. It's $10,000 to make it where it's not even it's just habitable, but it's even better a better condition where it's, let's just say, it's almost kind of move in ready. It makes sense. And the reason why it makes sense is back to this here, because it's okay if you can't afford. Because see, this is a situation that the lease options now are for people that can't. Hold on 1 second. All right. I'm back. So yeah, I'm gonna have to edit this. It's fine. Um, that was my electrician calling. I'm trying to get this house I'm working on done. But basically, what I'm saying is that if the location is profitable and then it's a very it's good community, it's conducive to where you are comfortable, and the house is in better condition, it makes sense for a lease option. Okay, that's why I mean I'm not calling it a scam, but a lot of times people get in the situations where it's not favorable for the tenant. Okay, for the person that's trying to buy the house, it becomes basically like like I say, it becomes like number one, it just becomes a glorified rental agreement. You know, uh, it's even properties that are in move-in ready condition. They're move-in ready homes. They're turnkeys. And they're the price of them is more than what the probably the cost that you would to buy it, and then you have to pay quite a bit for it. Um, but basically that is those houses pretty much a lot of times people move into those. I got a friend of mine, one of my friends that just recently passed away. He was a year or two younger than I am. He had a rent to own, so the stress involved in these houses are, trying to pay them. I'm gonna tell you, it's nothing to play with. Okay, I done seen quite a few people stress themselves out to an early grave trying to pay for a home. Okay, these things are not to be played with. Okay, housing costs uh is nothing to be played with. That's why, one of my calculators that I got to work on when I get some time is my 1.5 rule. And my 1.5 rule is on my blog on brokegeniuses.com. It's in one of the posts on my blog, and I explain the 1.5 rule because the 1.5 rule, it basically puts in factors of what you can afford according to your current income. And it puts you in a situation where you're not house poor. Because a lot of people, they get to a situation where they're house poor, where they're paying more money uh, towards the property or whatever house they have. They're paying more than 75%, 80% of their income on their property, on their mortgage, and basically they're becoming in a situation which is called house poor. And you can avoid that with that 1.5 rule. Okay, so this is all I have on this. Basically just to run things off into perspective. A lot of this, the three reasons are, like I say, it's just you're paying rent. Okay, at the end of the day, you're paying rent. Okay, you don't own the property until you actually, buy it. That at the end of the day, you can buy it anytime. That's another thing. Okay, you could buy the property. You have one of the things about a lease option that's great is that if it's favorable for you, like I say, I can't repeat that enough. You can buy the property anytime as long as you can, if you rebuild or work on your credit, you can actually uh, get a mortgage, which I mean is even more dangerous, actually, if not just as dangerous as a lease option. I'm not gonna necessarily talk about that as it's a cakewalk, but it's a lot favorable as far as you could triple and double up payments because if like you just do the math on a $70,000 house with the mortgage, with taxes and insurance and stuff, you don't have your mortgage payment would not be $900. It'll be like maybe like $175. You know what I'm saying? So you can triple the payments, and then they give you a 30-year mortgage and you can pay it off in 10 very relatively quickly versus paying $900 a month, so the thing is that until you do that, it's a glorified rental agreement, okay? And another thing is that like I say, most people, because of the cost, because like the cost involved you're only getting a rental credit every month. You're still paying rent. You're paying like 80%, if not 90% rent, and then 10% goes towards, they give you a credit towards the purchase of the house. That's why it's called lease option. But 80 to 90% is going to the owner's pocket and also paying for the taxes. Okay. And then anything they require, because they might require you to get insurance and stuff like that. They actually will, right? But it's more like rental insurance, because they definitely have property insurance. Because, see, here's the thing, and this goes into the third thing. You're because you're risking a lot with these lease options, because you are absolutely responsible for the taxes. You're absolutely responsible, for the water bill, the gas bill, the electrical bill, and everything, which is very unfavorable than just a standard rental. Okay, a standard rental, you're not responsible for a lot of those things. Even though I've seen situations where people have actually been responsible for, as if they got a lease option, because they wanted the house so much and it was so desirable. They agreed to this shit where they actually paying for water bills and shit like that. My ex-wife agreed to shit like that. Like, I was blown away. She rented a house and she was responsible for the water bill and garbage bill and stuff like that. And it's like, damn, I mean, you're paying rent. You shouldn't have to be responsible for those things, in my opinion. But yeah, they absolutely made her pay all of those responsibilities as if she already owned the house, and that was absolutely not the case. But the thing is that houses are different than apartments. Apartments, you typically have to pay the cooking gas, and also the electricity and anything else, obviously internet and stuff like that. But with houses, it is a different type of scenario. But like I say, you're paying so much in actually repairing the property, and also you having to pay the rent. You're risking a lot. And I'll be honest with you, it's not nothing that has never been heard where people torch the property. They're about to get evicted, they set the house on fire. And the reason why they do that is because they don't put, 20,000 into the property, $15,000 in the property. And then 4 months continuously, they did not, pay the rent because they fell, into hard times. And they like, man, well, I didn't put $20,000 in this house fixing it up. And basically the owners do not care. The landlord doesn't care that you put in $20,000 on his property to fix it up. This is something that you agreed upon. So then he files eviction in eviction court. He evicts you out of the property, and then where it is. You go torch the place. Well, here's the thing: the property owner already had insurance. You paid for it. So they actually even get more money out the deal, because they get full value of the property, and it's even way more than the actual value of the property. So, it goes into all kind of stuff, and the seven deadly sins and vengeance and shit like that, and wrath, because basically you agreed upon this. I like I say, I'm definitely going to be talking about my experience with my rent to own, my second property transaction. And the thing is that this thing very much happened to me. I'll just give you the short sweet end of the stick. This happened to me, and the purchase, someone purchased it, and I fixed this house up that, basically they would have, sold for nothing just about, so it just kind of goes into a lot of things, and I'm definitely going to talk about it. I'm going to get my video off for my first real estate transaction that I did. And it's just, for you people that would kind of maybe even thinking about this or not even knowing it, I pretty much express just about everything in general when it comes to a lease option. Okay, so you can't say that you don't know. All right, so this is all I have. You guys have a good one.